going on, folks? Razor MP here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're asking a question that still stirs up debate. Did the Army make the right call when they picked up the Sig Sauer P320 over the Glock and the Beretta? We're talking about the Modular Handgun System trials, the biggest shakeup in U.S. service pistols in decades, and what's happened since that decision, including some recent controversy surrounding the winning platform. Now, I carried the Beretta M9 for almost the entirety of my 26-year military career. I trained with it, deployed with it, and I knew it inside and out. I used my sidearm frequently in service as I was a military policeman, so when the Army said they were replacing it, I was paying close attention. Now, before we dive in though, a quick shout out to all my channel members. You keep this channel going, and I do appreciate. Thanks, of course, to Scottsdale Tactical and Velocitas for providing the ammo, as well as G-Code Tactical for providing my range kit and keeping me squared away on the range. So the Army wanted to replace over 500,000 M9 pistols with something more modern. That kicked off the Modular Handgun System trials, basically a bake-off across all the biggest names in the handgun business, Smith & Wesson, FN, Ruger. Everybody wanted in, but when the dust settled, it boiled down to 3 heavy hitters: the Beretta, the Glock, and Sig Sauer. Now, Beretta came in with the M9A3. I have the A4 here. The A3 was a modernized version of the M9. It's a 9mm with a 5.1-inch barrel, 8.7 inches overall, weighing a hefty 33.4 ounces unloaded. The trigger pull is about 7 pounds in double action, about 4.5 pounds in single action. It is a double action, single action with a decocker. It's aluminum framed with a full 3-slot pick rail and a 15+1 capacity. Beretta gave it modular grips, upgraded the internals, and according to James Reeves over at TFB TV, one of my favorite channels, Beretta's own internal testing showed the M9A3 could go about 19,000 rounds between malfunction. That's nearly 10 times the Army's required reliability. In all my years carrying the M9, I rarely did see it malfunction, unless there was a bad mag or maybe a worn out recoil spring. My biggest gripe was always the same. If you go to rack the slide, you accidentally engage that safety, putting it on safe, and you can look a little stupid trying to pull that trigger and nothing happens, right? So that was my biggest gripe with the M9. And while the M9A4 is optics ready, I've never been a fan of how it looks with an optic on top. It's like sticking that helipad on an offshore oil rig. Not that impressive. Back in my service days, I didn't need a red dot though. My eyes were a lot sharper, but these days red dots have become the industry standard, and the bigger issue is that co-witnessing isn't happening, at least not in this form, not with the optics that you can mount on this slide, which is very different than what you get with the M17 and the Glock 19X. They both allow you to co-witness in the lower third of their optic window. That said, I think Langdon Tactical has a very nice solution for the Beretta to fix that. Glock came in with what became the 19X, a mashup of the Glock 17's full-size frame and the Glock 19's shorter slide. It's a striker-fired 9mm with about 4.02-inch barrel, 7.44 inches overall, 24.8 ounces unloaded. It has a trigger pull weight of about 5.5 to 6 pounds. It's got that Glock single slot rail on the front. It's a 17+1 capacity and that trademark reliability they're known for. Compact enough to carry, full-size capacity, dead simple to maintain. The only downside, Glock only submitted this one model. Now, Glock and I go back a long way. The Glock 17 was actually one of the very first pistols I bought when I turned 21. Back then, I thought it was cutting edge, and back then it really was. That pistol never let me down, like ever. And its reliability really hit home years later when our soldiers were training Iraqi police, and the Glock was chosen as the Iraqi sidearm of choice. Those were perilous times in Anbar province, and the Iraqi volunteers for the police force were very scarce. So naturally, we didn't exactly get the pick of the litter of recruits. And yet, as bad as some of those recruits were, they couldn't break the Glocks. They lost them, they stole them, and even gave them away, but the pistols themselves never failed. Sig played a different game though. They brought 2 platforms to the table. They brought the M17 full-size and the M18 compact. Both striker-fired, both modular. The M17 runs a 4.7-inch barrel, 8 inches overall, and weighs about 29.6 ounces unloaded. It has a trigger pull weight of about the same, 5.5–6 pounds as well, with a full pick rail and a polymer grip module over a stainless FCU chassis. It holds 17+1 rounds standard or 21+1 with the extended mag. Now, on the optics side, Sig created the enclosed Romeo M17, and I like it a lot. It's rugged, seems dependable, and it seems to work well with this platform. The modularity, though, was a huge selling point. You could swap slides, barrels, and grip modules in the field. And Sig's bid came in, of course, the big piece, $100 million cheaper than Glock's. That's the kind of number that gets noticed. The Government Accountability Office, GAO, confirmed it. Sig offered a slightly better technical package, modular flexibility, and massive cost advantage. That combination sealed the deal and won it for Sig. But winning the contract wasn't the end of the story. In fact, it's where a new chapter has begun. There have been allegations that the P320 platform can fire without the trigger being pulled. Some law enforcement agencies have restricted or banned it altogether. An internal FBI report was prepared for the Michigan State Police after an unintentional discharge. Now, Sig did meet with both agencies. They did some follow-up testing, and according to them, no repeat failures were found. Sig stands by their position, backed by some military testing, that the pistol cannot be fired unless the trigger is physically moved to the rear. For full transparency, I own multiple P320 variants, 2 M17s, an M18, and at least 4 other P320 models. To date, none of mine have ever gone off without a trigger pull. That said, I don't carry any of them in a daily duty capacity either, so my use case is different from law enforcement or that of the military. I want to pause here too and address something serious. Tragically, there was an incident at FE Warren Air Force Base where an airman lost his life after an M18 discharged. I'm not going to speculate on the specifics of that case. That's for the investigation to determine. What I will say is that anytime a service member dies in a weapons-related incident, it's a sobering reminder of why weapon safety, training, and design integrity are so critical. So while the M17 has been in the headlines, my goal today is to put all 3 top contenders from the Modular Handgun System competition side by side, the Beretta, the Glock, the M17, and see how they stack up in real-world shooting. We're talking recoil control, accuracy, ergonomics, and shootability. And just to do a sanity check of the Army's top choice, because the Army would never rush something into production without thoroughly vetting, right? I mean, the Bradley fighting vehicle or the ACU camo pattern that blended into nothing but maybe a cubicle. Anyway, let's find out if they got this right this time or if history is repeating itself with a pistol instead of a tank or a uniform. But that was like pulling the trigger on this thing. All right, folks, drills are done, brass on the ground, each pistol has their strengths, none are perfect, but in terms of shootability and reliability and all-around usability, my winner is actually the Glock 19X. The Beretta is an amazing platform. I think it's more accurate at longer distances, likely because of the longer barrel and lighter trigger pull when it's in single action, but the weight is always a factor. If you've ever served, you know you carry tons of gear like body armor, plates, radios, night vision, ammunition, food, water. It's common to carry at least 70 plus pounds of gear without a pack. In the service, you might put in an 8-hour day on a good day, but if you're deployed or on duty, you'll likely be putting 12 to 18-hour days, maybe longer if you're running an operation. You can be out there for days, so every ounce makes a difference. The Sig M17 has great ergonomics and very good accuracy. The modularity sets it apart though. An armorer can quickly replace parts cannibalized from other weapons to get platforms mission ready. The M17 can also tailor the size and length of the platform to the mission, very helpful for units that want a low-vis carry option as well as a full-size platform. Think for your special operators, your military intelligence counter intel guys. They want to carry something small, concealed, they can switch this into an M18 configuration, or if they need something more combat ready, an M17 configuration. But the Glock 19X for me is the best middle ground. It's light, it's accurate, it's very durable. Like I said, I have seen the Iraqi units treat the Glock horribly and still function like new. I know it may not seem as sexy as the newest platforms out there, and the trigger pull may not be the best, but the sexy isn't really as essential as reliability. When your life depends on the next trigger pull of the three, I'd want a Glock in my hand. So, was the Army's choice the biggest mistake they ever made? Probably not. Let me know what you think though down in the comments, especially if you've served with one of these sidearms. Smash that like button and hit subscribe if you enjoyed the breakdown. And as always, I'll see you on the high ground or in the next video. Razor MP out.